I welcome you here. Wherever you are, if you are here, you can feel at home. Those of you who know me know my story, but a lot of you perhaps do not. Telling a story about one's life is very difficult because our life is so rich in every second. Not telling a story about one's life is only just like looking at a map. You can see the direction, but you still have not been there, and you don't have the full experience. In my sermons, I'll try to share more of my own experiences on a so-called spiritual path, but perhaps starting from showing you the map, the direction I'm going to is not a bad idea. As a young boy, I've experienced what it means to live in a country going through economic crisis and change. I have gone through family difficulties and the divorce of my parents, facing depression and even attempting suicide. And so at an early age, I have asked myself the question, what is the point of life? Why do we have to suffer so much? What happens after death? I asked the question about God because that was what I was told could be the answer. And I went to a seminary school to become a priest and missionary in the Catholic faith. Very soon turned out to be a disaster, as the true face of this religion has been revealed to me fairly quickly. I have witnessed seminarians being humiliated, abused, and even tortured by the peers and priests. This short but intense experience made me lose all faith and crushed me spiritually. After the seminary school, I turned towards philosophy. I thought that if I cannot find any answers in a religion, maybe I can find them by the power of my own reasoning and logic. After years of digging deep into this field, and despite graduating twice, I was also left disillusioned. There were no answers. All I had was conflicting theories where one school claimed something to be the truth, but for another school the exact opposite was the case. After that, I tried to live so-called normal life, get a job, get a house, start a relationship, and so on. But after a long while, it became clear that in this life you walk from one crisis to another. If there is no another economic crash in your country, you will have relationship problems or stress at work, or you lose your job. You name it, it will come at you. In the end, you are not free. You live in a financial and legal systems that will squeeze everything it can out of you and assumes your consent to the way things are. And they are not in your favor most of the time. Unable to deal with stress, I have signed up for a meditation course, and soon I have realized that there is another way to search for answers. It's not faith, it's not philosophy, but it is getting to know yourself and reality in a direct experience. I have literally left my old life behind and focused only on this new quest. I have listened to any spiritual teachings I could get my hands on. I would try to do any meditation technique, yoga style or martial arts tradition. I have tried and studied various therapies. I have read thousands of books and came to many realizations, but still didn't have a definite confirmation that all these practices actually lead to anywhere. So after 9 years of search, I was totally desperate. I sat down to meditate. I stopped eating. I was only drinking water. And I decided to sit as long as it takes. Or I was ready to die. I didn't care anymore. All I'm going to say at this time that the big moment came to me after 44 days of full day-to-day meditation with water fasting that lasted several months longer. I was in a total bliss. And finally, I had all the answers. But it wasn't me who had the answers. if you know what I mean. The old ego somehow disappeared. In any case, I didn't fully understand what happened. There was so much to process. But one of the things that was interesting, that I was in a place where I was given a new name. And later, I had difficulties remembering who I was before. The bliss lasted for months and years to come, and actually never fully disappeared. After the fasting, I was called to go to Sri Lanka to learn how to work with energy. With one of the monks that I've met before, I made an arrangement to go and see him. So I went there first, but ended up spending 4 years in Asia and learning from different teachers who helped me understand what happened to me. Nothing of it was new. All teachings felt familiar. And the closest to what I've experienced was to be found in Buddhist teachings. So I found teachers from all three major Buddhist traditions, Theravada, Mahayana and Vajrayana. I don't really see them as being contradictory. I see them as one movement, the movement of meditation, the movement of great awakening. I also realized that having been brought up in a Christian tradition was part of the process. We are all born in different cultures and circumstances. There are various teachers that come to us at different times on our path, so we should also respect them and respect ourselves as we are growing. I have been studying energy and meditation with the Theravada monk in Sri Lanka, where I also practice meditation in monasteries and living alone in the jungle. I have received teachings and empowerments from Vajrayana monk in India, where I have visited most of the important historical sacred places linked to Shakyamuni Buddha. I've practiced Zen in monasteries in Japan, where I decided to choose a monastic path that gave me some kind of structure and a daily practice, so I've ordained into the Zen tradition, which is a part of Mahayana school. My teacher in Sri Lanka, where I went several times, impasses onto me his Dharma transmission with the Boran Kamatana meditation, and the most powerful energy practice anyone has ever mastered. He told me to protect, heal and teach people, and this is what I'm doing now. With the pandemic that came onto us unexpectedly, we have realized that humanity is under attack, mentally, physically and spiritually. Our mission is to provide people with safe haven against the challenges that are before us. Safe haven that is within each one of us, the place that we call home, where we are at peace. We are no longer someone or something, but we are our true selves. We are the divinity and the universe within. With the meditation that we teach, life mentoring, energy work and yogic martial arts practices that we do, we will protect, heal and teach as many people as we can. And we will create a community which will be like planting the biggest forest one has ever seen. That gives us the oxygen to breathe and will save our planet from destruction. The teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha over 2,500 years ago became the first universal spiritual movement, and it is probably more relevant today than ever before. The Buddhist movement is not based on a revealed text and dogmas, as some of the other religions are. You as an individual have no way of assessing such revealed sacred texts. You either believe it or not, and you believe it because you were brought up in it without your conscious consent. And you continue to be part of it because you want to belong to a certain group, or it has become part of your identity. But that identity is not your true self. In any case, whatever place you are in at the moment, it is part of your journey and shouldn't be rejected outright. We believe that many teachers can be manifestations of bodhisattvas or even the Buddha. But more importantly, whoever is your spiritual teacher now, maybe this is the teachings that you need to hear at this time. Respect all beings that teach light, love and wisdom, no matter what religion or tradition they are from. Nevertheless, as humanity is under threat, we need to focus on the most efficient way to solve our main human problem, a belief in the false identity based on ego that drives humanity into self-destruction, and the most efficient way to do that is through meditation and energy work. Awakening is the activation of all the chakras in the energy body and connecting them with the universal energy. And the same is taught in the Kamatana meditation, which was the most known and practiced meditation in the oldest living Buddhist tradition, the Theravada, before the colonial imposition of Vipassana, which according to researchers was the more correct meditation in the Pali Canon. In any case, the focus on the Buddha's message for humanity is that of hope. We are all born into suffering, but there is a way to end it. Following the teachings of the Buddha and through meditation, we can all become enlightened and discover that not only we do not need to suffer, but we can live in this world with a potential to experience unlimited beauty, love and contentment beyond what one can even imagine. The Buddha's core teachings are the Four Noble Truths, and this is how we read them in our current times. The first Noble Truth says that we are all born into dukkha, which can mean suffering, stress, anxiety, or unsatisfactoriness. It is the inner characteristic of this world, samsara. The number of reasons for suffering today are ever more growing. We are being attacked on all fronts, financially, spiritually, and physically, in terms of our health, our values, and our human rights. There is a growing number of people in this world that live in unacceptable conditions. Our planet is being misused. There is an increasing amount of plastics in the ocean and in the ground. Litter and pollution is also a big problem. Forests are being cut down, and many species of wild animals have ever less chances to survive. It is becoming blatantly clear that whoever runs the world today, it is not doing a good job of it. We can change that, and we can transform this world, but we need to start from transforming ourselves, and we don't have any more time to waste. Apart from what we understand as suffering, we also have the opposite aspect, joy, happiness, pleasure, and most forget about that interpretation of the Buddha's message, saying that the Buddha can see only suffering and unhappiness. In any case, samsara is based on the perception of the necessity of the opposites. In the end, they both lead to unsatisfactoriness, as nothing lasts forever. Entering into Nibbana is the transcendence of the opposites, whether they are perceived as dualist or as complementary, as in the case of the yin and yang interpretation. The second noble truth says that samudaya, which can mean origin, arising, or a cause of dukkha, suffering, stress, anxiety, and unsatisfactoriness, is caused or linked to tanha, desire, craving, or attachment. So, samudaya, as we said, can mean origin, or arising, or a cause of dukkha, which is linked with tanha, craving, desire, attachment. So tanha, whether we see it as craving or desire or attachment, is the foundation of ego, the false identity. The moment when we start to feel separated from God, from the Buddha nature, from the universe, or from people around us. So we focused our attention only on ourselves. People believing in the false identity of their own ego will do everything to gain power, money and control over everybody else in one way or another. And this is the reason why we are destroying ourselves and our planet. The only way to overcome this predicament is to seek who you really are, which is sometimes called higher selves, sometimes pure awareness or emptiness, as it has been revealed in many of the spiritual teachings of the past. Spiritual awakening is the process of realizing the true nature of reality, and that we are all one. The third noble truth says that nirodha, cessation, ending, confinement of dukkha, suffering, stress, anxiety, and unsatisfactoriness, begins with letting go of tanha, craving, desire, attachment. So nirodha, cessation, ending, confinement. So the end of dukkha is the letting go of tanha, especially the attachment to the ego, and getting to know who you really are. And so you can start perceiving reality as all one and the same. One of the ways we are helping others on their path to awakening is to help realizing the attachment to false negative beliefs and subconscious patterns as a way to remove blockages with the use of energy vijnana, also called the force, bala, that constitutes the fabric of this reality. It is all around us. It sustains everything in existence, and yet we still have to learn how to use it to our own advantage. We are going back to the tabula rasa mind, and this is what the Zen teachings are about. Reality and our understanding of reality are two different things. What we really need is a direct experience of reality and the wisdom that comes from it. So even though there are thousands of sutras, tantras, stories and commentaries to read, they are useful for contemplation, but you can become completely overwhelmed if you try to know and understand them all. What is more important is meditation and other practices based on direct experience of the mind and reality as it is. We sometimes come across some simplified interpretations that talk about the problem being the desire which is causing suffering. But the deeper look into the meaning of tanha in this context and what is meditation revealing is that the real problem is the attachment in the world where everything is impermanent. Desire or craving are natural, and it's a matter of practice to be able to be aware of them and not to be controlled by them. Then they naturally subside anyway. The fourth noble truth says that magga, the path to complete nirodha, cessation, ending, confinement of dukkha, suffering, stress, anxiety, and unsatisfactoriness, is the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path leads to full awakening and liberation. The right view, the right intent, the right speech, the right action, the right livelihood, the right effort, the right mindfulness, and the right meditatefulness. And we should build our future humanity on those values. Awakening can also happen instantly and unexpectedly, depending on the karma of previous lives and the current environment. Awakening is the process of the transformation of consciousness from samsara to nibbana, which can happen here and now, or in the moment of death. Nibbana is the transcendence of the duality of opposites, which is the paradigm shift in consciousness. I believe that such shift can one day happen in the whole of humanity, and then we'll be able to experience what we understand as paradise, heaven on earth, or nibbana. Different Buddhist schools throughout the centuries have developed their own interpretations of the word of the Buddha, and sometimes they seem to be contradicting each other. In the end, no matter how contradictory the interpretation is, different schools are traditions and expressions of the development of human consciousness. They all share the respect for the first teacher and the core message of the Buddha. Some schools teach Dharma can be transferred directly to the mind from the teacher to the disciple, as in the case of Mahakasyapa. and that awakening can happen instantly through the transfer of energy, also called Shaktipat. Other schools teach that the wisdom of Tantra and the path of enlightenment is through the body. That often includes secrets of chakras, the energy body, the Kundalini energy, and the wisdom of yoga. There are schools such as the Shaolin Temple that develop martial arts from the inheritance of the Bodhidharma and his legacy, that teach how to work with energy also. We can all learn from those teachings. In the Theravada, Mahayana and Vajrayana, and in other schools, the monastics and the lay practitioners value loyalty and respect to the teachings of their own tradition. And it's a good practice to follow a particular path, but we also need to consolidate and synthesize the knowledge for the sake of uncovering the truth for every one of us. And each school and tradition has something valuable that we can learn from. The Buddha considered breaking up the Sangha as one of the major sins. And so to unite the teachings will be an act of alignment with his will. Although the Sangha has split up many times, and numerous Buddhist schools have emerged over the centuries, nothing happens without a reason. Different schools over the centuries enabled the adaptation of the teachings in all different cultures and territories, with the recent adaptation in the West. We need to realize that we are still one and the same Sangha, the Sangha of the Buddha, and that all different arahants and masters contributed to the spread and the adaptation of Gautama's teachings. We need to focus on what we share rather than what divides us, and to consolidate the teachings and make it easy to understand for the modern man and woman, rather than expand sectarian deliberations and division. Young people grow up confused. They are overloaded with digital distractions in the sea of information that they cannot make sense of. And with their hearts desperately looking for meaning, they numb their pain of existence in ways that are often destructive. Adults have long ago lost the aspiration to be truly free and happy, as the burdens of slavery to the system that we live in now is only getting worse. What is becoming more obvious is that humanity is faced with the menace of depravity, evilness, conflict, and even extinction. And so now more than ever, what we need is to unite and to use the Buddhist teachings and the meditation in knowing that enlightenment can transform this world from a place of suffering to a place of nibbana, one sentient being at a time. In the times of crisis we are all facing, we need to see that nibbana is the state of consciousness and is available here and now. And it is the only way that we can transform humanity. Through awakening and through fully liberating each human being, we can enter a new era of peace, love and compassion. The new era is beyond dualism, beyond yin and yang. The awakened state is based on the source, what I call the monad, which is symbolized by the enzoten, a circle with a dot inside. The new era can be an eon of prosperity, highly developed technology, space travel, long life, and also wisdom, psychic abilities, skills in the force, and most importantly, peace, love, and compassion for every being and every life form. When we are building the world of Nibbana, what we need to keep in mind is that liberation is the process that each human being has to go through themselves. However, what we can do is we can create a supportive environment, as was the case of the times of the Shakyamuni Buddha, when many Shramanas practiced meditation and yoga and listened to the teachings of many awakened masters. By the grace itself, I have been shown a real insight into the nature of this reality, and will now pass on all the knowledge I have and received. With your help, we will unite humanity with the promise that Nibbana is available to all of us on earth now. May you all live in peace, love, joy, and compassion. Anumodami.